Marriage is the only actual bondage known to our law. There remains no legal slaves except the mistress of every house. However brutal a tyrant she may be unfortunately changed to, she can't claim and enforce to degradation of a human being that being made of an instrument of a human animal contrary to her inclinations. Those are the words of John Stuart Miller from his book, The Subjection of a Woman. A very good afternoon to one and all present here. My name is Pooja Singh, and today I'm going to be speaking for the motion Should marital rape be criminalized? Now, first, we need to understand what is rape. Now, rape is a word which has been derived from the term rapio, which means to seize. Now, according to our Indian laws, from IPC section 375, it has been stated that rape is a criminal offense. A Supreme Court has also quoted that rape is a deathless shame and the gravest crime against humanity. However, in the same judiciary has an exception under the section 375, and it has excluded the application of the rape to a sexual intercourse, a sexual act between a husband and a wife. Now, this on face of it is a discrimination. Article 14 of the Constitution gives right to equality. Now, when we are discriminating between a married and an unmarried woman, it is definitely a discrimination, and I don't understand that why just because I am under a bond of marriage, I should not have the right to say no to my husband. Moving forward, if section 376 says that if there is a separation, judicial separation provided by the court, then in that case the woman can refuse to sex, and that time it will be considered as rape. Again, when she is away from home, that time it is not rape. But when she is doing her conjugal duties as a wife, that time it's not rape. The law constantly contradicts itself and discriminates a woman on the basis of what it is trying to say and what it wants to establish the empowerment of a woman in the Indian society. The Law Commission report in the 172nd report, it has stated that when there are other instances of violences of a husband towards wife has been criminalized, there was no reason for rape alone to be shielded from that operation. Now, Sonali mentioned this one point that there are a lot of other remedies available to a woman. Now, I would want to say that we are a common law country and we follow the legal maxim ubi jus ibi remedium, which means when there is a wrong, there needs to be a remedy. Now, when there is a wrong, which is marital rape in this case, why are you excluding it from some other offense? It does not make any sense because at the end of the day, this woman is not coming to court and knocking the doors of justice because this has been happened to her once. She has been going through this cruelty, and if I may say so, if she is subjected to sexual abuse, there must have been some other cruelty that the husband is capable of doing on her. So there is not one act which is compelling her to come to court, but there must be a accumulation of all other acts which she has been going through. I read one article in which our former Chief Justice of India, Deepak Mishra, has said that our Indian judiciary and the Indian society is based on the family platform. And he says that if we criminalize marital rape, it will break the family format and the society. I would want to ask that would you want your women, your girls, your daughters to live with a man who is subjecting her to cruelty, sexual abuse every day? She is being hurt. She is subjected. We need to understand when you submit to somebody and somebody is forcing themselves on you, it is very difficult. It causes not only physical abuse to you, but a lot of mental trauma also. Because you're not able to be yourself in your own household. How can we expect that a woman is going to make a home out of that house where she is not allowed to move freely? She has no consent. She cannot say yes or no to her husband itself. then how can we expect her to go out in the society and do anything? And when we stand on the knowledge that equality and standing with men is in the scenario, and with the whole feminist movement going around, not providing a woman with the right to say no to her own husband, we're saying to her that you are low to your husband. You're not at an equal stand, and that breaks my heart. If I have to again go and quote this Verma report on the amendment to the criminal law, there was a recommendation. The preliminary recommendation was that the exception clause of 375 must be deleted. And the second was that specifically state that the marital relationship is not a valid defense for an accused to walk away from the charges of rape. When we talk about marital rape, the major three arguments which come through is that institution of marriage is sacred, and as Sonali was saying, that there is implied consent when you come into a marital relationship. We need to understand that a lot of marriages in India are not working because of this "log kya kahenge" situation. We cannot go by what a other person is saying, but what a woman is facing inside her own household. We cannot expect her to make a home if she is not able to freely be herself inside her house itself. Moreover, Section 498 of IPC, it states that the words are any willful conduct which is of such a nature as is likely to drive the woman to commit suicide or grave injury or danger to life, limb, or health, whether mental or physical, of the woman, then she can file for cruelty. Now, this section does not talk about sexual abuse. It talks about physical abuse, but not specifically sexual abuse. Now, if I am being subjected to sexual abuse, where should I go? What is my remedy then? Should I remain inside the household and be subjected to that crime? Is that what the Indian laws are asking me to do? That shut up and stay there because I'm not going to give you any right because you are loyal to your husband. That is what they are saying to me, isn't it? Moving forward, sir, in the Act of Protection of Women from Domestic Violences, Section 3D, Clause 3 speaks about that uh, sexual abuse includes any conduct of sexual nature that abuses, humiliates, degrades, or otherwise violates the dignity of a woman. Now, we need to understand that this is a law which is of civil nature. Now, a lot of people will advocate that we already have a civil remedy in this case, then why do you want to criminalize it? We need to understand that rape is a crime because, as we know, mens rea and acts rea both are there. There is a criminal intent by the husband to force himself on the wife, and then the act which the rape actually occurs. So it is definitely a crime. There is a fine. We have two distinctions of crime of laws in India, that is civil and criminal. Is because in civil crimes there is a compensation given to the victim to bring them back to what they were discriminated from. For crime, we go and punish the accused. That the reason behind it is that it gives the society of a head front that you are doing a wrong which is against the society and you're not allowed to do that. Now we need to understand that the same should apply to marital rape also when it is applying to other kinds of sexual abuses. Just because I am in a wedlock, that does not mean that I am going to submit to my husband. And the law expecting me to do so is a grave injustice to myself. Uh, the Pandita also quoted, when United States criminalized marital rape in 1970s, it says that marriage is in modern times regarded as a partnership of equals and no longer a one in which the wife must be subservient to the chattel of the husband. I think it is high time that India also realizes this and we also start thinking in the sense and give equal opportunities and equal laws to our women in that sector as well. There's another point which raised that personal laws should be kept away from constitution, and you should not interfere in a personal space of a husband and a wife. I need to understand that nothing is above the constitution. I am first the citizen of this country, and then somebody's wife, husband, daughter, anything. So when I am born, this constitution gave me the right to equality. Now, just because now I'm married, they're taking it away from me does not is definitely violation of my right. Uh, Moving forward, sir, yeah, again under Article 21, we need to understand that rights to live with human dignity is there. And when you are asking a woman to stay in a wedlock where she is raped every day, you are definitely degrading her dignity, and that should not be done. If I again may quote the judgment of Kuttuswamy, the privacy judgment, it also includes sexual privacy, isn't it? I must have the right to say no to my husband, and this has not been done in India. Uh, what I want to propagate through this discussion is that the exception to section 375 must be deleted. Section 376 should also be deleted. Uh, when there is a cause of rape, the presumption under 114 of Evidence Act is there. So we need to understand that a thorough investigation should definitely be there before getting on to the trial portion of uh, the system. And again, 53 and 54 of the Indian Evidence Act, where burden of proof and everything is discussed. So there also there should be a little bit of changes, and I think that is the way forward for us. And I definitely feel that marital rape should be criminalized in our country. Thank you.
Um, Good afternoon, sir. So I won't be speaking much about it as most of you have spoken a lot, but we have discussed Article 21 here about the right to privacy. I would like to add the violation of Article 14 here. Uh, Basically, Article 14 of the Constitution ensures that the state shall not deny any person equality before the law or equal protection of law within the territory of India. So, in connection with this, although the Constitution guarantees equality to all, um, Indian criminal law discriminates against female victims who has been raped by their own husbands. Uh, so at the time when the IPC was drafted, a married woman was not considered as an independent legal entity. Rather, she was considered to be the chattel of her husband. So as a result, she did not possess many of the rights now guaranteed to her as an independent legal entity, including right to file a complaint against another under her own identity. The exception to in the IPC section 375, which essentially exempts action by a husband against their wife for being considered as an act of rape, is largely influenced and derived from the already existing doctrine of merging the woman's identity with that of her husband. So the roots of the doctrine can be traced to the British colonial rules of Victorian times. India has taken most of her laws and acts. They are influenced by the British colony, by the British laws and Victorian norms. So the marital exceptions to the IPC definition of rape was drafted on the basis of Victorian patriarchal norms that did not recognize men and women as equal and did not allow married women to own property and merges the identity of a woman with that of her husband. This is a doctrine of coverture. So basically, although the times have changed, but then we as a society are still not able to adopt the fact that there are times when a woman may if a woman may have consented to a marriage, she won't consent to for an intercourse every time. And I believe if the right to I believe that if the right to complain against rape for a girl who is not married is been given, in the same way a married woman should also be given the same kind of right uh, in that way.
Dipaniti and Aishwarya asked that why a married girl child between 15 and 18 years of age cannot prosecute for marital rape. So I think the idea behind the legislature for decriminalizing marital rape is that to legalize the child marriage, as there are still, despite of all the laws which are there for child marriages, the evil is still prevalent in India, and to legalize the same, they have not criminalized marital rape above 16 years, and also it considers the legality of children born out of child marriages. This is my answer for their question. And yes, they were asking about Article 14 and 21 also, that why a wife cannot say no for sexual intercourse. So I think that the freedom of one citizen starts where the freedom of other citizen ends, and as per that, Part 3 of Constitution of India of states fundamental rights of every citizen, but the rights are not absolute in nature, and it imposes some of the restriction on it. And the restriction here implies that it should be essential to limit others' rights so that one person can enjoy their right in their so. And the other questions were that daily basis cruelty, regarding the daily basis cruelty, that a wife has to go to daily basis cruelty, but I think there are enough of laws which can be filed against a husband, because Domestic Violence Act 2005 not only covers the sexual assault but also gives remedies for mental anguish. And I think there were only these questions. And lastly, I would like to ask some questions from them also. What about the people, like their family and the husbands, who have to through the mental torture because of the false cases? And there are many cases where the wife tries to uh, pressurize the husband and his family for huge amounts of compensation outside the court. So they are also involved in the criminal activities, despite the fact that they were not they were false. And I have also one more question, that there is a there is a belief in India that the husband is a god to their wife. So how they are going to address the mindset of the society, because it is deeply rooted in everyone's mind, and a woman who is raped is not seen by good eyes. So I think there is also one more problem, that if a wife files a case for rape, she will not be supported by the society, and will also be seen by some of prejudices. and and there are also cases where man is actually getting assaulted by her wife, and he also suicides due to the same reason, but there are no laws which are addressing the rape of a man, or how he gets assaulted by his wife. So I think these are also points which stands near the marital rape issue. So if the uh, marital rape for a woman is not allowed, then the marital rape of a man should also not be allowed. So these are only my three questions.
So the first is the false acquisition case. So if that is the scenario, there are a lot of false rape cases also. So should we decriminalize rape also? Is this what she's trying to say? We'll say, oh, everything fine, do whatever you want to do. We'll decriminalize everything because there are going to be false cases. I don't think that that should be a ground on making a law whether people are misusing it or not, because there is a law, and definitely there are going to be some culprits who are going to misuse it, but there are real victims also who are very much affected by it, and their justice should be what the legislation should focus on. Ashwarya, you can continue on the next answer then.
So I would like to start from the restriction point. So Sonali said there should be restrictions. Our constitution provides restrictions to certain rights. But sir, our constitution provides reasonable restrictions. So what kind of reasonable restrictions can we have for marital rape? What kind of reasonable restrictions, sir? Like wife's consent, how can it be said that it's a reasonable restriction? The things related to consent. And so the next question which she raised, that husband is a god and we cannot go against that. Sir, according to me, education is the answer. So we have to educate the masses that husband is not a god, he can do wrong. And if a wrong has been done, justice should be provided. Some more education, more practical knowledge at their level is the answer. I know it's a very difficult, those wives won't be able to even address the issues. But first of all, we have to ask them, what do you want? Do you want justice or do you want to continue your life as it is? If they want, then we will educate them. Obviously, we are not going to give forced education. They should consent for the education as well. Yes, I want justice. Educate me. Teach me the difference between marital rape, and consent. Education is the answer, sir, according to me. And reasonable restrictions should be there for those restrictions points. So that was my counter argument.
So one more thing, so regarding that, she said, how will you change the mentality of the society? So when the Sati Pratha was removed, when the dowry provisions were removed, that time also there was a lot of speculation in the society that our culture is like this, giving dowry is in our culture, it should not be removed. But that doesn't mean that there has been a lot of cruelty because of it. There has been dowry deaths. So again, there is going to be difficulty in making the public accept it, but that doesn't mean that the victim should go without the justice. There should be a remedy available to her, and that she should be given an equal chance to stand in the court of the law and prove her point and say that she has been subjected to this crime and that she deserved an equal opportunity to get justice for herself. That is what my rebuttal is.
With that, I would just like to add one thing. With the developing society, I think it is very important, as we are we did decriminalize the Section 377. It's high time that we change our minds, as we are a developing country, and we need to look forward towards thing in a different manner, rather just be thinking and being in the same narrow-minded situations.